once you've registered an account, once you've verified your account, the next stage is to deposit funds. So there's actually two ways of depositing funds in your Binance account. There's fiat currencies and there's cryptocurrencies. So like I mentioned before, fiat currencies are traditional currencies that are government backed. We use these on a day-to-day basis. This is the pounds, this is the US dollar, this is the euro. Essentially, there's two ways to deposit fiat currencies. There's bank transfers, and this is via faster payments. And then there's the bank card, and this is via Visa or MasterCard. Now, the second way to deposit funds is through cryptocurrencies, and we use something called a crypto deposit address, which I'm going to touch on later on in this section. But let's start with actually depositing fiat funds like GBP. So like I mentioned before, there's two ways to deposit fiat funds. There's the bank transfer and there's the bank card. You can actually access these two methods by going on the homepage, going on the navigation bar, clicking on buy crypto, which you can see here, and make sure that you select GBP as your local currency, and then click on back deposit. So what this does is it will direct you onto this page, which you actually can see here on the bottom. There are two sections. There's the faster payments and there's the bank card. Click on faster payments and you can see here on the right, you can enter your amount. Once you've entered the amount, then you are given certain bank details. So essentially these bank details that are presented on the right, you will need to now go to your bank account, whether that's mobile banking or you log in via desktop. You will now have to add Binance as a new payee, and to send, essentially you send funds from your bank account to this bank details. So just one thing to note, that these bank details that you can see on the right, these are individual, these are unique and different to each individual user. So these details will be unique to me. Everyone has different details that they need to send funds into, and it's our way to uniquely identify which user gets which funds. So something to keep note of is we do see some users actually incorrectly, misspelling certain characters or not including the reference code. Please make sure that you enter all of this information correctly via your bank, because you may risk losing funds, or the funds won't be processed on time. I've also provided a full guide on how to deposit GBP via fast payments at the bottom of this slide, so you can essentially start bank transferring funds this way. Now, the second way, like I mentioned before, is via bank card. This is quite simple. You just type in, you click on bank card, Visa, MasterCard, you type in the amount, and then you are given a form to fill out your card information, etc., like your card number, your expiry date, your security code, and then essentially your billing address, and then you click pay now, and then essentially the funds are transferred from your bank card to your Binance account. Now, typically faster payments and bank card transfers will take a few minutes to a few hours, and you can actually see your transfers by just scrolling down on this page to the fiat deposit history, which you can see here, and you can actually see here all the attempts that you've made, the status of that, whether it's processing, successful or failed. And after some time, when the bank deposits or the bank transfers have been successfully approved, you'll be able to see the GBP in your account. To be able to do this, hover over wallet on the top navigation bar, click on fiat and spot. You'll be directed to your wallet page. Essentially type in GBP, and then you'll be able to see your GBP amount in this page, essentially. So that's essentially, that kind of summarizes how to deposit GBP into your bank account. Now we're going to touch on how to deposit crypto funds. Now, in order for me to discuss this, I kind of want to just take a step back and give some context, because I think this sort of depositing crypto is quite complicated to newcomers. So I kind of want to give an illustration with Alice and Bob. So we have two people here. We have Alice and Bob. Essentially, Alice wants to send some money to Bob. Now, in traditional sense, via your bank, Alice needs to ask Bob, hey, Bob, can you give me your full name, your account number and sort code? Bob then gives Alice his full name, account number and sort code. And essentially, Alice would then have to manually go to the bank and actually send funds to Bob this way. So the information required is a full name, account number and sort code typically. Now in crypto, we actually don't ask for full name, account number or sort code. We ask for something called deposit address. So in this scenario, Alice will ask Bob for their Bitcoin deposit address, and Bob will then give Alice his deposit, a Bitcoin deposit address. Now, I hope that kind of illustrates what information is required. Essentially, a crypto address is a unique lettering system. It's often 26 to 35 characters long, and it basically identifies a unique wallet account. Like a account number and sort code, a crypto address or crypto deposit address is just a unique identifier. It's to identify, a certain wallet or certain account. You actually can think of it, 26 to 35 characters long. It's similar to kind of, a long number in a bank card, for example. Actually, that's 16 digits. This is roughly 10 more characters longer. So essentially, it's a unique identifier to each individual account. Now, second point is each cryptocurrency has their own unique address formats. So what I mean by this is, let's take Bitcoin, for example. Bitcoin, BTC, typically starts with 1, 3, or BC1. So this is an example here of a Bitcoin deposit address. And you can actually see here, I've highlighted in 3, that Bitcoin actually starts, this address starts with BC1. So what this means is this just shows me that this is a Bitcoin deposit address. Now, each different cryptocurrency has their own structure and format. Ethereum will have its own structure. Litecoin will have its own structure. So I think it's also good to mention that. So in case people are wondering, whenever they do deposit funds, just be sure that the address is the correct crypto. On top of that, the third point is every user will have different deposit addresses for each crypto. And what I mean by this is, let's say I have a Bitcoin deposit address, which is BC1QX, this whole series of letters on my Binance account. Now, if you go to your account and you go to your Bitcoin wallet, you actually find out that your Bitcoin deposit address is different to mine. That means that every user will have different deposit addresses for each crypto. So that's just something to keep in mind as we move forward. So moving on to the next slide, again, this is quite a lot, but I think this is really good for referencing if you do want to deposit funds. This is just a step-by-step process. Essentially what I've done here is just Alice and Bob, but instead of Alice and Bob, I've just put Binance Wallet and other wallets. So in this case, Binance Wallet is Bob and other wallets is Alice. You want to send money from other wallets to your Binance Wallet. So essentially, there's a step-by-step guide on how to do this. Long story short, you have to go to your Binance Wallet, find out what your sort of deposit address is, and then go to the other wallet and then initiate that process of transferring. So in short, you go to your fiat and spot wallet by hovering over wallet at the top navigation bar, click on fiat spot, type in the asset that you want to transfer in. So for this case, we want to do Bitcoin. So you type in BTC or Bitcoin. You can see here, Bitcoin is right there. You click on deposit, that's next to it. And then you'll be directed to the crypto asset deposit page. You select your appropriate network. So for this case, we want to use Bitcoin to transfer the funds. And then once you click on the network, you then are given a unique deposit address for Bitcoin. So as you can see here, this Bitcoin address starts with 1. So as you can see, what we mentioned previously, this is actually a Bitcoin address because it starts with 1. Now, just something to note, this Bitcoin address is unique to me. So, if I want to send Bitcoin to my own account, I would use this address to then transfer the funds into. You have to do this process for your own wallet because your deposit address will be different to my deposit address. So essentially, I've provided a full guide on how to deposit crypto via deposit address below. You can click on that and it'll give you a more in-depth sort of summary, step-by-step guide, and also show a video as well on how to actually deposit funds to your Binance account. So that's essentially it. It's quite simple. To summarize, there's 2 ways to deposit funds at Binance. First is through fiat funds, and this is the traditional currencies that me and you are, mostly use. And then there's the second, which is the cryptocurrencies. For the first method to deposit fiat currencies, there's 2 ways to do this. There's bank transfer, and there's also bank card. And then they both have their own workflows for that. And then the second, for the crypto deposits, you actually have a crypto deposit address, which is unique for each cryptocurrency. So just to kind of summarize and give you some helpful advice, I get a lot of these questions, how long do deposits take to process? It's actually quite difficult to answer this. And the reason why is because for fiat deposits, it can take roughly a few minutes to a few hours. It actually depends on the bank itself. It depends on your transaction amount. Obviously, if you want to, deposit £50,000 in one single transaction, I don't think your bank will easily let that go. There'll probably be certain risk factors involved from your bank. Likewise, for crypto deposits, it can actually vary depending on certain crypto. So for Bitcoin, it can take roughly 10 to 30 minutes. For other cryptocurrencies, it can be quicker or longer. So definitely just double check that everything is that you've entered all the correct information, and your deposit will be processed. There are certain cases where your deposit has failed, and this typically can fall under various reasons. So it could be if you are trying to deposit fiat funds, it could be that you have actually insufficient funds in your bank account. It could be that you're reaching your daily limit. You actually surpassed your daily limit, so actually now your deposit has failed. Or there are certain risk factors as well. So sometimes our systems actually flag certain suspicious activity. Let's say for 30 days you haven't done any deposits, and then one day you do a massive deposit. Our system will flag certain types of behavioral patterns as well. So it sometimes can be flagged like that as well. There's a third kind of issue which we see some users have is, they've already verified their identity, but now they're being asked to verify again to deposit. So the reason why is because some accounts kind of get flagged for compliance risk. This can be due to many reasons, such as being of a certain age, being from a certain country of residence, or having similar or exact name with bad actors. So this is quite common. We do see some users. Obviously, we do actually have millions of users on our platform from all over the world. It's rarely the case that certain users are flagged for similar or exact names, but it does happen. So if you do have a common name, you might fall under this category. We also do find that certain age and certain countries are more high risk. So if you're of a certain age that is more vulnerable, then you might fall under this category. And then we'll ask you to actually verify further to be sure that that we know that you're able to kind of transact, and the same with countries of residence. So whenever you are flagged for compliance risk, we actually ask these accounts to verify with the address verification, which I previously mentioned in section 2. So if this is the case with you, I totally understand your frustration, but these are certain compliance risk factors that we have to comply with. and essentially all users that are flagged have to do this. So once you're verified with address verification, issues should be resolved. Some further helpful tips and advice. So if you do have any further issues with your bank deposit or your crypto deposit, please contact live support and provide the following evidence. For fiat deposits, please provide your bank statement showing the full name and deposit amount. If it's for a crypto deposit, transaction ID, your deposit, or sometimes referred to as receive address, and the token name. This will actually allow our customer support team to identify and actually investigate further. It's not uncommon that sometimes your fiat deposits can take longer than a few minutes, a few hours. As I mentioned before, some deposits get flagged for certain risk factors, so it can likely take longer for it to resolve. So if you proactively reach out to our live support customer support team and provide these information, we'll be able to process these transactions faster. And just to kind of finalize, for crypto deposits, if you do send crypto to a wrong deposit address or you use the wrong network, you do risk losing all the funds. It's just the case with crypto. It's not user-friendly in that way, especially if there's over 26 to 35 characters. Please double check that all the letters are correct, that you're depositing to the right deposit address, and that you're using the right network. We do find some users do make these mistakes, and sadly, you actually risk losing all these funds.